If you want to become a web developer in 2025 and beyond, this is the only roadmap that you will need, because I will also show you how you can make use of AI, or more specifically GenAI, in your learning process, as well as to build amazing products. Plus, I've built this amazing roadmap website, which I will be actively updating in future if anything changes after this video. So let me know if you guys want the link to this website. I'll host it and put it in the pinned comment below. Alright, so first thing first, we're gonna start with the Frontend Fundamentals, because that is what is going to be our building blocks, which contains HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's take them one by one. So HTML is a markup language that is all of this that you see over here, or all the web pages that you see, are built using HTML. And a very popular example of HTML, in fact, and HTML and CSS is HTML is the skeleton of our websites, and CSS, you can say, is the skin of our website, right? CSS makes our website look good. So when it comes to HTML, make sure that you spend at least 4 to 5 days in this. Learn all of the basics, like how document is structured, all of the correct semantic tags, like using div in the correct places, where you have to use paragraph tag, we have to use links, lists, tag, and all of those things, right? Forms and validations, accessibility. So accessibility is a very important thing, because people who for some reason are unable to use websites, like most of us, accessibility is something that will help them out while navigating our pages, right? Using keyboard navigation or other things. And of course, meta tags in SEO. This is a little bit advanced for a beginner. You can pick it up later on, right? So that this helps us in, ranking our websites. So there are n number of tutorials that you can find on YouTube. As you can see over here, there are a lot of HTML tutorials that are made right here. You can also go to this html.com website. This is also a very good resource. And honestly, you can find hundreds of thousands of resources for learning HTML. And after that, of course, you can start with CSS. Now, when it comes to CSS, you can also take 2 to 3 days, or you can take weeks learning CSS. Even if I talk about myself, I don't even consider myself as a CSS expert, right? Because CSS is very, very deep, right? If you can, keep on learning CSS and still not, get professional in this. But the basics that you need to worry about are something like how selectors work in CSS, what is the specificity, the priority of the styles. Flexbox is very, very important. You're going to be using it almost everywhere in every single website that you create, along with the grid. Right, so for Flexbox, I've created a tutorial on YouTube. Like if I open it, this is the tutorial right here. So you can just go to my channel and just, search, like you can search Flexbox roadside code or something like that, right? We also have websites like csstricks.com, where you can find in-depth tutorial on CSS, or, specific tips and tricks on CSS. For learning Flexbox, if I talk about myself, I followed this guide right here. This is a game, Flexbox Froggy. And you have to apply different classes to align this frog on this leaf right here, right? There are 24 levels, and you will get really, really good if you, just play this game right here. And similar to this, we have this grid garden. So you can see all of these URLs are right here. You can just open them. Apart from this, learning responsive design is very important, right? How you can make your website responsive in mobile devices, in your desktop, in tablets, etc. And animations and transitions are a little bit, advanced thing, or it's not that much important, because whenever you're going to be, using CSS and all, most probably you're going to be Googling all of these things, just like most of us do. And make sure that you build a lot of landing pages using HTML and CSS. Only then you'll be able to get a proper hands-on on both of these things, right? Before moving on to JavaScript, which involves more logic-driven websites. This is for more static websites, right? So make sure that you give at least, I would say, 1 to 2 weeks for both of these things, and then move on to JavaScript. Now, this is where a lot of people might just quit, right? HTML, CSS is very easy. But when it comes to JavaScript, when it comes to forming logic, a lot of people might just get scared, or, they might as well think that maybe this is not for me. Maybe coding is not for me. And trust me, we have all been there. So to not, get overwhelmed, I would recommend start with very basics of JavaScript. That is how variables and functions work. What are arrays in JavaScript? What are strings? How for loop work? How, conditionals work, like if else and all of these things. So again, you can follow. There are a lot of good tutorials available on YouTube on JavaScript as well. In fact, I recently made this video on the same topic, how I reset my brain to learn JavaScript. So I would highly recommend you guys to watch this video, and so that you can understand what is the path that you can effectively take to learn JavaScript. so that you don't get stuck in tutorial hell or, eventually get thoughts that maybe this is not for me. And obviously, once you get the basics correct, try to start integrating JavaScript in your static website probably that you have built by understanding DOM manipulation. DOM manipulation is something like, for example, if you click on a button, something will happen to the website, like HTML will change, probably the CSS will change, maybe you will fetch the data. And when it comes to fetching data, that is what asynchronous JavaScript is all about, which is also very important. APIs and how you can, fetch the data from public APIs or, private APIs, all of those things. Basic CRUD application is what you should be making, right? CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. All of these 4 things should be inside of your app. You can follow my machine coding playlist on my channel. So if you just go to this playlist section on my channel and just go over here, view full playlist, you can just follow these first 2 questions for now. This is a very good website if you want to learn, CRUD operations. And again, I've mentioned this link right over here as well. If you want to understand, get much in-depth information on arrays and string, inside of my channel, you can find these data structures and algorithms in JavaScript. Now, again, this is not actually, I'm not encouraging you to start data structures right now, but just go through with the basic topics like this arrays and strings over here, right? Don't go into the data structure questions, just understand all of the, functions and all that I've explained in this video. Else you can also watch some other, tutorials on YouTube as well. And make sure that you create a bunch of different websites using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Only then you move further. But a lot of times you might get stuck somewhere, right? You might encounter some bug, or you might, have trouble understanding some concepts. And that is where the next stop of our roadmap is. So if you move forward, we have learning with AI, how you can use AI effectively in your learning. And these things apply on all of the other things inside of this roadmap as well. So first of all, what are some of the AI learning techniques? We can use tools like Claude or ChatGPT. So let me just open ChatGPT. All right, here we go. I've opened ChatGPT over here. So some of the points that I've written over here is understanding versus copying. Now, let's suppose that you have to create a model inside of your website. A model is like a pop-up, like the one you can see over here, right? This is also a pop-up when I click on it. So let's say if you have to make this. So you ask ChatGPT, how to make a model in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, if you just write something like this, or if you just ask it to make a model, it will just give you the code, right? But we want to learn. So just mention, explain step by step as well. So this is the difference between just copying and understanding what you're learning from the AI. So you can see it has given us this HTML structure. You can see it has given us all of these comments along the way as well. Here we have CSS, it's explaining every single style, what it does exactly, right? You can see full width, full height, and all of those things. Then it gives us this JavaScript and explains us line by line along the way, right? So this is exactly what you should be following when you're using AI for your learning, right? And obviously you have to be good in prompting. Effective prompting, right? And along the way, you will actually get good in that. And also code review with AI. Yeah. So let's say if you are writing some code and you're building some website using basics, like basics or maybe advanced as well, right? You want to understand if you have written the correct code. So you can just copy that code, give it to ChatGPT and ask it to code review it, or how you can improve the code, how you can optimize the code, right? So these are some of the things that you can do to make your learning much more effective using AI. And if I scroll down, we have some AI development tools over here as well. Now, if you want to develop end-to-end applications, we have tools like bold.new or v0.dev. I've discussed this in my previous videos. We have some tools which helps us in development as well. Like GitHub Copilot, when you code inside of your VS Code, it will give you suggestions, right? What your next code should be. We have some open source models like Ollama, which uses Llama 3 model from Meta. Let's go to our next stop, which is Frontend Frameworks. Now, this is the interesting part right here. We have React.js, and I know a lot of you, maybe if you are in college or if you are a junior developer, you guys might have heard of React.js. And React.js is a JavaScript framework. So React.js makes JavaScript way too much easy. And it removes the parts which cause you a lot of headaches. in DOM manipulations and stuff. So if I tell you about myself, when I started learning web development, I jumped straight into React and I didn't understand what am I going to do. Just couldn't understand a thing because my JavaScript was not that good. So that's why I stressed on the fundamentals earlier, that you should be good in your fundamentals and then move on to React.js. Things like components and how state and props work, what are the hooks, how you can manage the state of your application, context API and all, how you can build different hooks, all those things. These are kind of optional if you're a beginner, but later on you should be understanding these as well, like performance optimizations and stuff. Just go to React docs right here and you can learn React from over here as well. This is a really good documentation. They have explained how you can build tic-tac-toe and learn React along the way. Apart from this, I have also made a lot of videos on React.js on my channel. Like for example, this React interview question series. These are not just interview questions. These are very basic React projects as well that you can follow and understand how React works. If you go to my channel, inside the playlist, you can find a lot of React project tutorials. Like for example, this right here, React.js project tutorials. And I've covered React from basic to advanced inside of these projects. And of course, React 19 has also been released recently. So make sure you can watch my videos on React 19 if you already have some knowledge of React to understand what's latest that's been going on in the world of React. Right, okay. So apart from this, there's one question that I get a lot, and that is how important is TypeScript? And honestly, TypeScript is important, but as a beginner, I would not recommend you to just jump into TypeScript for now, because TypeScript is something that I believe will take you around 2 to 3 days and you can easily understand what TypeScript is, right? And how you can build projects in TypeScript. Maybe, yeah, definitely you would need to practice TypeScript for sure, building projects with TypeScript. But this is not a new language, right? This is JavaScript with types. If you have, worked on C, C++ or Java before, they have types, like for example, for numbers, they have integers and strings for, characters and all. So this is exactly what TypeScript is all about. I would recommend you some of the good tutorials over here. So if I show you, if I say TypeScript over here in my channel, I have made some tutorials on React with TypeScript as well, right? So you can understand this, or you can again follow some other tutorials on YouTube as well. And also TypeScript's documentation. This is really, really good. In the initial days of my learning TypeScript, I followed this documentation and this is very clean and always up to date for sure. Right, so yeah, you can check this out in typescriptlang.org, or you can also click this link in this website right here. Now, there are some tools that you need to know about that you will be encountering while building your front-end apps. Like for React, there's something called Vite, right? For creating a new React app, you will be using Vite, or if you want to set up your own React app, there's Tazorpay. These are basically bundlers. You need to understand what NPM is or what Yarn is. So NPM is basically used for installing some libraries inside of our application. Like you might have heard of Bootstrap or Tailwind CSS or other types of libraries, right? And make sure that you use all of these things and the knowledge of React to build a lot of websites, a lot of projects as well. Just like, I showed you, I've covered a lot of such projects on my channel as well. So definitely go on and start with some basic tutorials like this Jiffy clone or this cryptocurrency tracker clone, something like that, right? And then you will become really, really good in React. And probably then you can, if you're like a college student or junior dev, you can start applying for internships as well, right? If you want to become much more skilled in front end, I would recommend that you can start with a meta framework like Next.js. And this is way too much trending right now, and a lot of companies are demanding this in their job description, right? When you follow tutorials on YouTube, make sure that your knowledge is up to date and all of these subtopics are also covered during your learning journey, right? And again, Next.js documentation is amazing. Just go to nextjs.org, or you can also follow my Next.js projects on my channel. So this right here, Next.js project tutorials. I have made a lot of projects where I've covered Next.js from absolute scratch. So you can probably, after you have done React, this is very important. This is made on top of React, right? So this is a meta framework. After you have learned React, then you can, start with Next.js and then start building project. And after this, you will become a really, really good front-end developer. Now, if you want to stop right here for now and, search for a job, you can do that. Or you can also take a path to become a full stack developer, which I will discuss after this. But let's say if you want to start applying for jobs just right now after learning front end, then we have this step right here, that is interview preparation. Now, what comes in front-end interview preparation? There are majorly few types of rounds like JavaScript interview prep, machine coding rounds. They might ask you some basic DSA questions as well, or system design is kind of like for 1 or 2 years experienced folks, right? So basically in JavaScript interview questions, they would ask you things like what are closures, what are event loop, probably questions on where let const, functions, prototypes, this keyword, etc. And I have a JavaScript interview questions playlist on my channel as well. You can see this one right here. This is the most popular playlist of my channel. So you can follow this and probably get started in your interview preparation journey. Apart from that, we have machine coding rounds, which involves building a small app during the interview. It will be a live interview where interviewer will give you a small app implementing infinite scroll or like autocomplete search, file explorer, shopping cart. These are some of the most popular interview questions, but there are obviously a lot of questions that you need to be worried about. So again, I have discussed some of these questions on my channel right here in this front-end machine coding interview question series, which involves both Vanilla.js and React.js questions. But if you want more in-depth resource, I have created front-end interview preparation course. This is the only thing that you will ever need to prepare for your front-end interviews. And not only this, I've covered every single topic of React.js, like React Router DOM, Redux, all of the hooks, class-based component, function-based component React, even the performance optimization, which is asked from senior developers a lot, tons of machine coding questions as well, and obviously in-depth interview preparation course on JavaScript as well. And not just this, along with this course, you get an active Discord community where you can ask your doubts whenever you get stuck, and we will be there to help you. And also, if you're watching before 5 January 2025, our New Year sale is on and we are giving the maximum discount on our front-end interview preparation course. So enter the coupon code New Year and avail this discount right now. Now, apart from JS interview and machine coding interview questions, DSA is also a lot of times asked in front-end interviews. And specifically from the front-end developers, the interviewers expect you to know JavaScript very good, right? And expect you to do questions in JavaScript. Now, obviously, this is not 100% necessary to do these questions in JavaScript, but if you do solve these questions in JavaScript, you will get much better in this language, right? So again, you can follow my data structures and algorithms in JavaScript playlist right here. I've covered every single topic when it comes to DSA and JavaScript. And also for system design as well, I have created this playlist with 4 or 5 videos currently, right? And again, you can find tons of content on YouTube as well. Let's move to backend now, right? And that is what our next stop is, backend development. And this is where Node.js comes into picture, right? So Node.js is basically a runtime environment which powers almost all of the JavaScript apps, and you can use it to write backend apps as well. And we have Express, which is a framework built on top of Node.js, which makes our job super easy. Things like how you can create routes for APIs, what are middlewares, how you can do user authentication and authorization using these things, how you can upload files using a library like Multer, what are environment variables, and all of these things, right? Apart from these things, these will help you, write backend applications. You would also need a database, and the most popular database that I can say right now would be MongoDB, right? MongoDB or also SQL, or more specifically PostgreSQL database. So you can pick and choose either of these databases, doesn't really matter. But if you're, I think, starting with Node.js, it will be good if you just start with MongoDB. This is because it's much more simpler, right? When it comes to PostgreSQL, you can use something like Prisma ORM, which makes our job super easy. And again, I have covered all of these like Prisma ORMs and all in my full stack React project tutorials. And I've created a couple of MERN stack projects as well. So MERN stack is basically React, Node, Express, and MongoDB, right? All of these 4 technologies are used for building full stack apps. So probably you can follow this, my MERN chat app tutorial, and you'll be able to build a production grade chat application or a MERN app for your resume. All right. So now you're someone who has done a lot of development. You have created projects using React, probably created a MERN stack project as well. And now you want to move to the next step, which is using GenAI to build apps, right? A lot of people are building apps using APIs like Gemini API. Like recently, I built this finance platform on my channel, which allows you features like AI receipt scanning or giving user their monthly insights using Gemini API. right? So you can integrate all of these things inside of your projects and make your project stand out from the crowd. We have Gemini API, which has some amount of free usage. OpenAI API is paid. You can use a lot of Hugging Face model. You can just search, Hugging Face on Google. You'll find that websites. You need to understand how you can optimize the cost while using these API, because maybe if you just make a lot of API requests to these APIs, you might incur a lot of cost, right? So you have to understand how you can optimize these API calls and all as well. And again, I've mentioned my AI finance platform resource over here as well. Now, apart from this is something that is very popular nowadays, which is vector embeddings. Now, what is vector embeddings? Now, imagine that you have a personal application that you want to run on your own personal data, right? So you can't just give your whole data to ChatGPT and ask it questions, right? That might be very, very expensive. So that is where vector embeddings comes into picture. If you want to learn, more about this, I've created a tutorial on this as well. This tutorial right here, where I have explained how you can create an AI-driven portfolio, a chatbot that will mimic you. If a recruiter comes to your portfolio, they can ask question about you from that chatbot. That chatbot is trained on your personal data. So that is what vector embeddings are all about. And yeah, for this, we have models like Gemini and OpenAI embedding models, which will help you create vector embeddings, right? And after that, we have frameworks like LangChain, which helps you build AI agents and all, right? So again, you can go on and check out LangChain's official documentation to understand more about it. And this is what the roadmap that you should follow in 2025 to become a profitable web developer and land your dream job. There might be a few things that I've missed, or you might discover along the way your learning journey or your web development journey, right? So hit that like button if you want me to make this website right here public. I will add the link to this website in the comments down below or in the pinned comment down below.